Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Cake Diaries Podcast. Sorry that it's been so long, I've been so busy, and the lovely Rachel actually reached out to me from Cotswold Vegan Bakery to film an episode today. So it's a very impromptu episode, but I'm actually very excited about it. So welcome.
Thank you, hello.
So we're going to start with introductions. So Rachel's just going to tell you a bit about her. So if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Rachel. I run Cotswold Vegan Bakery, which is a vegan bakery based in Cheltenham. I deliver throughout the Cotswolds and around Gloucestershire. I mostly do bespoke celebration cakes, birthdays, weddings, that sort of thing. But I also do some sort of smaller treats and things for markets. I'm sort of relatively new, only been open since November 21, so a few months. That's me.
Oh, and also Rachel brought me some lovely cakes today, which look amazing. If you don't follow me on Instagram already, go over to it because then you'll be able to have a little look. I'll also be posting a selfie, if you don't mind, at the end.
Yeah, of course.
So you'll get to see both of our lovely faces. So, can you tell me how you got into baking? Because I know I was not into baking before. I was more of into cooking opposed to baking, and then it was a very new thing for me before I actually started the business.
So I'm sort of the opposite, really, that I've always loved baking. I can't really remember a time when I didn't bake. It's always just been a part of my life, and I don't really know why, because none of my family are really sort of big bakers or anything. I think maybe I was just a greedy child that liked cake, so I had to make it. But so always loved baking. When I was younger, I just, as a hobby, I used to just make birthday cakes for everyone. Just really enjoyed it, and I'd always sort of dreamt of having my own cake business, but it just seemed like something that was sort of a pipe dream that I would never actually do. Yeah, because I trained as a nurse after I left school and did that for a couple of years. So I was doing something completely different, and it was always just a hobby of mine. And then one day I just thought, I just need to do it. Like it's what I want to do with my life, and the sooner I start, the sooner I can just get into it. And so that's how it came about.
I think that's the biggest thing for most people, is actually getting into it. So many people think that, one, it's either something that they could never actually do, 2, they wouldn't make any money from it, and 3, that it's too saturated. But one thing that I think a lot of people need to remember is there's so many people everywhere. Like, wherever you live, there's so many people, and it's like, one baker cannot supply to everyone. Like, you need lots of bakers, and they've all got different aspects about themselves which make them someone that you want to order from. And also, there's certain things where it's like, it doesn't necessarily need to make loads of money. Like, for me, one thing I've realised is I can be in an accounting job where I'm getting paid £2,000 a month and absolutely hate my life.
Yeah.
And it's not worth the
agree.
money.
Yes,
it's
definitely.
not worth it. Whereas I'd rather take a pay cut and actually enjoy what I do.
Yeah, that's exactly the same as me. Like, when I was a nurse, I was obviously earning more money than I am now with a new business. But I just didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I always had that thing in the back of my mind of what I actually wanted to do was the baking. And I mean, it's obviously difficult to start with money-wise and sort of working out how to get regular sort of income.
Yeah.
But I've got a part-time job along with it, and
Exactly.
I think that's what a lot of people do.
That's the best way to go, honestly. Like, having a part-time job whilst starting your business, because then you've got the funds to actually put into a business. Because a lot of people, like all these clothing brands and businesses that you see, none of those start with no money. Like, a lot of them take out like £5,000 loans.
Exactly.
And that's how they start it up. Whereas if you're not doing that, then the easiest way to do it is to have a part-time job.
Yeah.
And also it means that on the times where you don't have orders, you're not doing nothing.
Yeah,
You feel
definitely.
productive. Because that is my biggest thing. I don't like not being productive.
Me too. It sort of gives you a routine as well,
Yeah.
having that thing every day. Like, being self-employed, it can be quite hard to stick to your routine and to be quite strict with yourself. Whereas when you've got a job, you've got set times in the day that you know, I need to do my baking now because I won't have a chance at other times. So I really like the combination. It gives you more of
an urge, definitely.
Definitely.
Because like, I'm the same. Like, later, I'm going to a shift, and I know that when I get back, I need to bake the layers of a cake.
Yeah.
So that tomorrow I can actually crumb coat it and decorate it, because otherwise if I bake it tomorrow I'm not going to have time, because then I'm going out in the evening. So it's like, I know that I have strict time schedules, whereas otherwise I find that you're just like, oh, I'll do it in the morning, and then it becomes the afternoon, and
it's so
there's
true.
no
Like
rush.
the job expands to fill the time that you've got to do it in, so if you've not got much time, you just got to get on with it.
Literally. It gives you a bit of a kick up the arse,
definitely,
to actually do it, because otherwise you won't. So that was how you got into baking and how you started the business. How did you actually start the business, if that makes sense? So like, how did you think, right, today's the day?
This is something that I found really hard, because it's sort of difficult to launch it and to be like, hey everyone, I'm here now, like pay attention to me. So one thing that I was nervous about was people finding out that I existed before I was ready to take the orders, if that makes sense.
I had the same thing.
Really? Yeah, it sounds funny, but like I wanted to make sure that when that first order came in, I knew how to respond to it. I knew like what the process would be, that I had everything in place. So I spent a really long time, actually. I think I'm one of those people that I want everything to be done properly and to be ready, and to not sort of be worrying that I've missed something. So I probably spent longer than I needed to, just getting everything ready, all the legal stuff, all the stuff in my kitchen, everything. The very last thing that I did was make my social media accounts, which I know a lot of people would probably disagree with, because people say, oh, you should open your social media and do some sort of teaser post saying like, oh, new business opening soon. I thought, I just can't do that, because as soon as I do, like, people will find me and I'm not ready for it.
That's the problem I had. I posted a few photos. I was like, oh, I'll do like a few teasers. So I posted a few photos of things I'd made, and then people actually wanted to order, and I was like, no,
not yet.
No, I'm not ready yet. Like, I told the government that I was starting on the 6th of June.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And it's like, you can't order from yet. Go away.
Not allowed. So that was the last thing I did. And then the way that I made myself known, because I didn't want to open a social media account and then have 0 followers for days, because nobody knew how to find me. So I opened the accounts, and then I just posted on some like local groups, just of people around the area, but also some vegan specific groups, because that's my thing.
Your niche.
And then people just started getting in touch that way, and it's sort of gone from there.
So that just made me have a little thought. How did you find the actual setup process? This is something that I didn't ask Lauren, but it's something that I thought might actually be very helpful. So like the food hygiene, registering, that kind of thing, and also getting all your paperwork in order, and also like tax returns, all that kind of stuff, which is very recent with it being April.
It was, to begin with, it was super scary, and I think most people probably find it a big overwhelming thing. I don't think that's unusual. But I think the thing that I found difficult was knowing what I needed to do, because that's half of the job, is just finding out what sort of legally has to be done, even before you then have to sort of embark on all the work of actually doing the stuff. And I mean, I spent ages on the internet just researching it, and one thing that obviously really helped me, as I said, was following you, watching your videos. I mean, I really wanted to make sure that I did everything properly. I didn't want to be one of these bakers that you see that's not like registered in any way.
It really annoys me. It's like a pet peeve of mine.
Definitely. So what I did was I found out everything that I could on the internet with my own research, and then I watched your videos. And that sort of flagged flagged anything that I'd missed, and just sort of systematically went through everything. It took a really long time. Food hygiene, I haven't even had my inspection yet. I'm awaiting inspection.
To be fair, so you might be waiting a little while.
From what I've heard, it takes a long time.
I've had so many messages from people where they're like, it's been 2 years. I'm like, maybe you should contact them. Just putting it out there, guys. If it's been, I would say, over... As long as you're ready and you've got all your paperwork sorted, I would say you can call them whenever you like, because if you chase them, then most of the time they will actually say, right, we'll organise something.
Maybe I'll do that then.
Yeah, like if you're ready, whereas some people are like, well, I'm not really ready, like I've been open like 6 months, I don't want them to come yet, and I'm like, well, okay.
I just want it out of the way. It's like looming over me, so...
But like, I know Lauren, she was waiting like 3 years or something.
Wow.
Like, she opened before me, and I think she was waiting for either her first one or her updated one.
Oh, right.
And I was like, that's a long time.
That is a long time. I suppose it varies depending on the area you're in as well, and all sorts. But yeah, I really want that behind me now.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of the last hurdle that I need to go over.
And also I feel like it seems a lot more scary than it is.
Yeah.
So the longer it gets drawn out, it's like
you're building it up in your head.
I don't want this looming over me anymore, for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
it is definitely scary.
It is scary.
How did you find your... Oh, you wouldn't have done a tax return, would you?
No, I've not done one yet. I had a moment when I panicked earlier this year because I got some notification from my accounting software saying, don't forget to do your tax return. And I was like,
excuse me?
No, I've not prepared for that in any way. And I thought, hang on, I don't have to do one yet. I've only been open a couple of months.
Yeah.
It's fine. But yeah, I am scared.
Yeah, it's always a year in arrears. So I just submitted my 2020 to 21, and then you do that this year, and then now from April until January, you can actually submit your 2021 to 22. But I am in no rush. It was stressful as anything, so I'm gonna leave it. I think I'm gonna do it maybe in like autumn time.
Okay.
Like if I have a quiet period, because it literally takes like a week of my time, like solid week. I was just like sat there going crazy. But once I'd done it, I was like, this is actually a bit easier than I expected. But going through the paper version, I was looking through it and I was like, I do not understand any of this. And then I went online and I was like, oh, this is a bit better.
Yeah, I definitely want to do it online. Do you use like Xero or
I use QuickBooks.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I love it.
Oh, nice.
So I don't think I've done a video on it. I think I told people that I was going to, and now that I've actually submitted my tax return and I've got that out of the way, I think I'm going to, just to show people round, because I do love it. Things like you can allocate your transactions, and it's got all the totals for you, so it will tell you what's expenses, what isn't, what's income, etc. And you can just organise it all lovely. I pay monthly for it. Some people cancel after they've submitted their return, but I'm just going to keep it because it is so helpful. But it made a huge difference, because like when they ask you how much your expenses are, how much your income is, it's right there in front of you. And it takes it from your bank.
Yes, yeah,
so
really helpful. Yeah, I use Free Agent, which is like, so I got my business bank account with NatWest, and it's like linked to NatWest somehow, so I use that, but it sounds really similar. It's so helpful.
I actually had a funny thing happen a couple of weeks ago. I don't know where the card is, but basically I applied for a business account and the card arrived and it's got the business name with Lloyd's, but there's no details on it.
Oh.
So I've literally been telling people, I'm like, right, I'm getting a business account so that they're not paying my personal.
Yeah.
And then there's no details on it, so I'm like, people can't actually pay me.
That's
because
weird.
There's no sort code or anything for me to give them.
Oh.
So I need to call Lloyd's, because I'm like, that's really unusual.
Yeah, that seems odd.
Yeah, because that's another thing, like on QuickBooks you can separate your accounts. So like I have a savings account, I have a normal account, and what I try and do is put income from the business into the savings so that it separates it a bit. But I want to have this business one on there, but yeah, it came and I was thinking, I've never seen a bank card without any details on it. Apart from like a Monzo or something, but it's not that. It's Lloyd's, so it should have details.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they forgot something on there. That was quite interesting.
Oh dear.
So that is how you found the setup. Also, just wanted to quickly mention, if anyone isn't familiar with my YouTube channel, if you're watching this on Spotify, I have made videos on, I'd say, most business related things. Like food hygiene, setting up your business, all that kind of stuff. So if you are curious and need a bit of help, then feel free to check that out, or just give me a message on Instagram. I'm always happy to reply. I might take a little while, but I will reply eventually. So we are going to get on to you as a vegan, vegetarian, whatever you identify as. And this is actually going to include a little update from me because something has changed recently. So go ahead.
Obviously the reason I've got a vegan business is mostly because I eat a plant-based diet myself.
Yeah.
That was sort of, how long has it been? Around 4 years now.
Yeah.
I sort of became interested in it, but then one thing that I found really difficult was that baking was a really big part of my life.
Yeah.
I thought I'm really interested in eating more plant-based food, but I'm going to really struggle with the baking to stop using eggs. Like, it felt like such a huge deal, but then really it wasn't so bad. I thought, I'm going to have to basically teach myself how to bake all over again, but it's just following different recipes and using different ingredients, and vegan baking is not really that different to normal baking or whatever you want to call it. But so that's basically how I got into it. So everything I make is vegan. I eat vegan food myself. That's it really. I sort of forget about that. It just feels natural to me that this is just the food I eat. And then when people ask me questions like, oh, isn't that like really difficult and restrictive? I'm like, no,
that's the thing.
It's just normal. This is just what I eat, and it's
So that is you. So you are a vegan. If anyone else is vegan, feel free to comment on the YouTube video to let us know, because I'm just always curious. I'm so nosy. Like, I just want people to tell me stuff about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you finding starting your own business?
I'm absolutely loving it. Obviously there are really difficult parts, things that come up that you didn't expect to find difficult, things that you thought were going to be difficult that are actually fine. I think I'm really enjoying it. I really like being self-employed. I think it really suits me as a person. I mean, it's funny because the business, because it is new, it's not obviously at the stage yet where it is taking up all of my time or anything. I'm just still growing. But just like excited to see how things go, and fingers crossed it keeps going well, because like so far I've been pleasantly surprised with how it's gone.
Oh, that's so nice. Honestly, some people, I've heard so many people that have actually closed their businesses. Like, so many people have commented on YouTube and stuff where they've been like, I started it didn't work out, I closed it. So it's actually so nice to hear that you're actually really positive about it.
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
Like in the first 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that is a big chunk of it.
Yeah,
It's like, that's the time where you decide, right, this is 6 months that I've invested into it. Is it working? Is it not working? What do I need to change?
Yeah.
What are some things, if you can think off the top of your head, that you think, right, that's something that I struggled with, or that's something that I wish I had done differently?
Yeah, I think it's tricky. There's so many things. I can't think of any of them now.
Take your time.
One thing that I do find difficult, like I mentioned, was being strict with my time.
Yeah.
And especially working from home, working for myself, it's really easy for the day to become just incredibly long.
Yeah.
Because even if it's not loads and loads of work, you just procrastinate or just get distracted because you're at home.
I am the queen of procrastinating, honestly.
Yeah, it's so difficult. And then you're thinking, oh, I could have achieved so much today in this time, but instead it's like 8 o'clock at night and I'm baking a cake that I could have baked at 2 o'clock today. And
that just made me laugh a little bit, because you looked at my clock. No one else is here, but it's wrong, and it's been wrong for about 2 weeks. I only bought batteries yesterday, so
it's confused me a couple of times.
Yeah, it's like 7:45 and it's definitely not.
So I think that's the main thing really. I think another thing that I've been finding difficult, again, I think this is just like me as a person, is admin, particularly emails and Instagram messages and everything, keeping on top of that. I think when I first started, I expected, obviously running a business, you need to be really responsive to your customers, you need to give good customer service, you don't want to keep people waiting. I was surprised by how quickly people would send a second and a third message if you don't reply straight away.
Some people are eager.
Yeah.
And what I do now is I send them a little message when I, like, as soon as I see it, if I know that I'm not free, I have like a little message that I sent, and I just say, really sorry, I'm working or I'm away, I will get back to you. And if I don't, then like in a day, then feel free to double message. But if you double message me before that, you're going to the back of the queue. Yeah. And then I'll reply to someone else before you.
Yeah, no, it's a good way of doing it, because like I have on my Instagram, I have like an automatic reply. That I think I probably sent you a few times. It just goes out and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to send that to that person, and then I have to delete it before they see
Amy,
it.
You need to wait, I'm not replying to you.
So like that gets sent, which is really helpful, because it just says like, I'm baking most of the day, so I can't check my messages. I will check it at some point today and get back to you. So that sort of like gives people an expectation. I think some people don't read it and then they just send another message, but that is one thing that I've struggled with, because when you're running a business by yourself, you're doing everything. And if I've got an order for the next day, I can't just drop what I'm doing and answer this new message that's come in, because that's not fair on the person that I'm making the cake for. I need to concentrate on that fully. And then, it's just sort of hard juggling all that. But I definitely think it's something that you get used to over time. And in the early days, sending an email to a customer feels quite scary, because you're putting yourself out there and you're sort of finding the voice of your business. But then over time, an email that would have taken me 10 minutes is now taking me 30 seconds, because I have the standard thing that I say when people send an order inquiry. It's just getting easier every time something comes in. I have like price lists and things saved, like most common ones. That's good.
So like cake price list with the basics, with my flavour list, all of that, and then it's all sent as a standard message. So then what I do now is I skim through like requests, and I'll be like, right, that's an order. That one is a question from YouTube, which unfortunately, guys, you go to the back of the queue. And I'm like, right, that one's an order, because I do get some people where even if you reply like 6 hours after, so say they message me in the morning, I reply to them in the evening, and they're like, sorry, I found someone else, and I'm like, that was quick. Like, unfortunately, sometimes they're just way too eager, and sometimes they're like looking for a month in advance. I'm like, you found someone the same day?
It's funny, isn't it? And then some people, they'll be so anxious to get a response from you, and then when you do reply, they'll take like weeks to get back to you.
I'm funny. Like, you were badgering me. I'm not going to double message you.
It's funny, like just the different types of customers you get. And, people's different ways of communicating.
Well, and also people's manners as well. Like, it varies. Like, not just even the starting message. Like, even when you've got a customer they've got a cake, their way of doing things. Like, the one that I love is, how is the cake going along? Like, coming along?
I haven't had that yet.
It's so funny, because I just say, it's not baked yet. Or I say, it's being baked tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to send you a photo of a cake that is not finished. And also, I don't want to send you a cake that is finished, because I've had some where they've then nitpicked. This was like really early on, but they would be like, oh, I actually don't like the gold topper. And I'm like, well, you've ordered a gold topper.
It's a bit late
so
now.
That's what you're doing. Like, you can't change stuff because you don't like the way it looks finally. Because it's like, well, that's what you ordered.
And that's what you agreed to when you placed the order.
Exactly. Yeah, some people are very funny. Have you had any nightmare customers, without obviously naming names?
I've had a couple of interesting
I find this so interesting, because I've had so many.
Yeah, obviously you never know who's going to be listening. I'm obviously not going to name anyone.
Oh, of course. Secret spies.
Nothing too bad. I think the issues just come from people's expectations and people not understanding how cakes are made, the work that goes into it, and that sort of thing. I think, so a good example would be, I had one customer who, to be fair, I didn't deal with this very well, because it was like, I think it was like the second inquiry I ever got, so I was really new to it. This person emailed me asking for a cake, went through like sort of what the order process is and everything. She agreed to the design, all of that, sent over the invoice, all of that. She didn't pay, so then I emailed her saying like, hey, do you still want the cake, because she didn't get back to me. And she replied saying, yes, I do, but I don't want that cake anymore, I want this design instead. I was like, okay, no problem, that's fine. Did a new quote, new invoice, everything, sent it over. didn't hear back from another couple of weeks or something. Got back in touch, and then she said, actually, I've changed my mind again.
Oh God.
Can I have something? And this went on. I think she changed the design about 4 times. And obviously, in hindsight, I shouldn't have kept
Yeah.
just kept accepting it. But in the end, she just kept not, like, she would leave it like weeks without replying to my messages. And then in the end I was like, oh hey, I've got another inquiry for the day that you've asked about, so like I'm going to need payment, otherwise I'll have to take this other order. And then she just replied saying, yeah, sorry, I don't want the cake anymore. And I was like, oh, I've spent so much time like talking to you.
That's what people don't realise.
It's just like
we don't get paid for that.
Like, that's the thing. Like, if I was going to charge for my time emailing customers, if I condensed all the time down that I'd spent emailing her, she would have owed me like 40 quid or something.
Yeah.
It's just time and money that you're never gonna see, and that's a bit frustrating, because it's like people aren't respecting your time.
Yeah.
Like, perfectly happy to go back and forward with people to design their cake to get the design that they want. That's part of how things work. But there's sort of like a line that gets crossed sometimes, and it shifts to like in the direction of not respecting your time.
Oh, of course, yeah. I feel like the longer you've been going, the easier you pick up on those signs where it's like, you're not going to order. And like sometimes I even do it now where I'm like, you're not going to order, and then I'm surprised when they do. I'm like, wow, I didn't think that you were going to go through with that, because you were wasting my time. And I'm not rude about it, but I'll say to them like, right, you have this amount of time to send a deposit. So I'll say, right, deposits are taken at the time of ordering, which would be ASAP basically, because we're discussing it now, and then that will save your date. If you don't, it's not saved. And then if they don't get back to me, I don't message them. I used to in the beginning, but now I'm like, right, I'm not messaging you, because a lot of the time I've had people, literally had one recently, she's a regular, but she said she wanted it for a certain date, and then she said that she was going to pay the deposit. She didn't, so I was like, that's perfectly fine, I'm not going to badger you.
I ask for a 50% deposit,
Same.
like you say, to like confirm their date, secure their date, and then I ask for the rest a month in advance, because that gives me a bit of leeway if people don't. There's always some people that won't pay on time.
Of course.
So that's how I do it. But that, like, before I started the business, I read so much advice from people, like including yourself, about how to deal with that kind of thing, which is why I just went straight in with the 50% deposit.
And also that covers your time as well.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
Also, like, I have a higher hourly rate because I know that we don't get paid for admin, so that includes all the admin. I base it on the time that it takes me to do the cake. But if someone said, oh, why are you charging £15 an hour, well, I'm like, well, technically it's say 10 to 12 for the actual cake, but any extra is my admin time, because that is throughout. Like, people message me the week before saying, what time can I collect, where's your address, all that time that I'm sending over those things.
Time,
and then there's all the time before as well. So and also I feel like you learn who to spend the time on. There's quite a few people where I literally will chat to them for hours about a cake, and that's because I'm like, I know that you're ordering, so I will put in the extra time.
In that case, because then you're genuinely helping those people to get the cake that they want, which is great. But then I did have one customer actually who I felt like she was going back and forward with me, and she kept changing things, and I just got this feeling that this cake isn't going to happen. And she went, I think, about 3 months from the time of we had agreed on a design. I'd sent over the invoice for the deposit. She didn't pay it. I sent her a reminder saying, just so you know, your date's not confirmed till I've received this. She didn't reply. I sent another one. And I was like very nice and polite about it, but in the end I was just like, this isn't going to happen. She got back to me 3 months later saying, is the date still free?
No.
No. Sorry about
Even
that.
Even if it was free, no.
You're not. I can't go through with this order, I'm afraid.
There's sometimes where I do that, where people are like, are you still free? And even though I am, I'm like, not for you.
I
Because
think you just get like
unfortunately, I know you're going to mess me
people.
around.
Exactly, and you think even if you do order, even if you do pay, are you going to collect the cake? Are you going to be in if I deliver it? You just seem like there's just something off.
I've had that before.
You don't want to put yourself at risk, because if you're taking that time to make that cake, that could potentially be like half a day, a whole day gone.
Yeah.
And it could just be for nothing. So I think in some ways, especially early on, I'm feeling like I do need to protect myself a bit against things like that, because I don't have the money to waste on orders that don't go through. But then at the same time, you don't want to turn down opportunities. Yeah. So it's really hard to find that balance, I think.
Yeah, I feel like you've just got to try and gauge whether people are messing you around or not. But it is so difficult. Like, in the beginning, I was like, right, am I going to message them again? And, like, again, there's some where you're like, okay, I thought they were taking it really seriously, so then you can. But there's some where it's like, you've got to just let it go, because some of them are terrible. I've had my fair few of horrid customers. None of them have been that terrible, but they just were a little bit annoying. Yeah. But I feel like you get that with everything. Like, it's a customer facing job. Like,
that's the thing. Yeah, there's always going to be people
different
like
personalities. Like, it ranges. But yeah, luckily you haven't had too many bad ones, so I feel like you'll be fine.
Hopefully.
And also, it's a learning curve. Like, you learn as you go along. So
you learn how to deal with those kind of people. Yeah. I think some people as well, maybe when they get in touch, they don't realise that it's just me. Yeah. And that I'm doing everything myself. So then they maybe think that they're getting in touch with a bigger business that has someone dedicated to admin or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, obviously it is just me. So there's only so much I can do.
I used to joke around and say to my mum that when I get bigger, I'm just going to get her to do admin, because she's retired.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get her to do admin. She can do, like, I'll get my dad to do the washing up, because he loves it. And that'll be how the business runs.
Perfect. Family business.
Because then it means I can just do cakes. Yeah. They do admin. And also she does YouTube videos.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I have joked saying, well, you can edit mine.
Yeah.
I'll pay you to edit mine and do all my admin, which just seems like the best thing. I might have to actually start getting her to do it, because it's becoming a problem. I've got a video that was meant to go up this week and I haven't edited it yet.
Oh no.
So bad. What day is it?
Thursday.
Well, I need to really edit it for tomorrow, so
good luck.
Fingers crossed. So, how do you keep business regular? So these are some common issues that we're just going to run through. There's a couple of others, but that's kind of the main one. So, like, how do you advertise yourself? Like, any tips basically that you have for people?
Most of my advertising I just do via Instagram and Facebook. I've had some Google ads as well. That's it really. I've done a little bit of paid advertising on Instagram, which has really helped. Sometimes, like, the thing with that though is that if you pay for advertising, sometimes if you just say that Instagram can choose who to target, you end up accidentally targeting other business owners who aren't people that are going to order from you. Yeah. And then you end up with the wrong sort of following. So it's a bit tricky. I think I haven't quite worked it out yet.
Neither have I. I don't use it because I was like, I was spending money and I was like, I don't even know if I'm hitting the right people.
Yeah, that's the thing. You just don't know. I think that the good thing about my business being vegan is that I know that people that follow me are going to be following me because I'm a vegan business, which must mean that they're interested in vegan food. Yeah. So I'm more likely to order a vegan cake. So I suppose I do have that to my advantage in a way, that I know that people aren't going to bother following a vegan cake business if they have no intention of ever being interested in a vegan cake. So I think it's like going okay with finding people, finding customers. I'm getting sort of a steady stream.
That's the main thing. Coming in. Like, it doesn't even have to be loads, but I think the most important thing, especially when you're self-employed, is getting, like, it's regular. So like average, spaced out. You don't want like 5 cakes one week but then none the rest. So it's better if it's like a steady, especially because our income is like as and when.
That's the thing. Yeah, you need to really make sure that it's, like you say, spaced out, and I think that's quite hard to achieve because it's not up to me when people want their cake. So you never know. But I think it's going quite well with that kind of thing, with like regular orders coming in. Not loads and loads, but it is steady. One thing that I've done, so when I first started, I thought that I might need to sell some cakes to cafes and that sort of thing to try and get some more regular income. And I did look into that, and I approached a few cafes, didn't get anything back, but kept trying. You know, like you get knocked back and you just got to keep going with it. And in the end, I just decided, it's not what I really want to do. I was only doing it so that I could get a bit more money in, and then I ended up getting my part-time job, which sort of replaced the need for that. So I didn't go down that route in the end. But what I have been doing is some markets and fairs and things, which I've only done a couple so far, but I've got a few more booked in for this year. And it's sort of like just one every 2 months or something, so not loads, get back on that. But it's a really good way of making that bit of extra income and also advertising whilst you're there, because I just go and take a stack of business cards. I have my
it's so enjoyable as well.
It's so much fun. I absolutely loved it.
I just haven't been able to find any nearby.
Right.
I don't mind travelling a little bit, but it's been a bit few and far between in Buckinghamshire. If anyone knows any, let me know. But because I love markets.
It's so nice getting to see people buying your cake and then seeing them just walk off eating it and
sometimes come back and then they're like, I'll have some more.
At my last one I did, there was a customer who bought a brownie. And then he walked off around the corner eating it, and then he came back 5 minutes later with his whole family and made them all buy one as well. He was like, it's so good, you need to buy one. So it's really nice when things like that happen. And it's just like, it's a change of scenery as well. When you're working from home, it's just so nice to get out
and actually see the customers as well. And like chat to people.
I
had a few like over various markets, but I've had a few people that follow my YouTube actually come. They're like, I came especially for you. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. I love it. But I haven't done one since, God, when was it? Maybe like October.
Oh really?
And I really miss it. Like I've been searching for them. I was going to do one in MK, but then it didn't end up going ahead. That was in like January, but it got cancelled. I think it was like due to weather or something, because that was when there was like loads of storms and it was outside. But I need to try it, especially for summer.
Summer's perfect,
because then it's
time
like
for it,
you don't have to really worry about it getting cancelled for weather. But I
yeah.
need to get back on them because they are so enjoyable.
They're so good. And actually, your video that you did about markets really helped me before doing mine, because again, it's the kind of thing that you think, I have no idea what I need to take, what I need to do beforehand, how much stuff to make. There's so many things that you're just unsure of if you've not done it before. So your video really helped me, and again, just did research on the internet and sort of just had to wing it and think, I'll make this much stuff. If I sell it all, great. If I don't, then I've learnt a lesson for next time.
And usually Instagram is a lovely place to post fairs, and people will be like, right, I'll snap it up.
Yeah, definitely.
Or either that or Facebook is also good. I don't use Facebook too much. Most of the time I repost my stuff from Insta, but not like exclusively on there. But like I say, that is like, if you have any spares, I shove them on there, and most of the time they go pretty quick.
That's good,
And it's like, if you're left with a few, that's fine. I just don't want to be left with like 100 brownies.
Yeah.
Then I've got to eat them all.
It's not ideal.
I will eat them all. What I've started doing is taking them into the gym, which is... I work at a gym part-time, and it's quite funny because I take them in and they get snapped up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then all the like personal trainers are like, that's not on your diet plan.
I was going to say, isn't everyone super healthy there?
Yeah, everyone's on a diet plan there. And I'm just like, here's some brownies. Enjoy. I think I might be taking some tonight. I need to actually bake them. But but they're going to be very nice. I end up eating half of them though. So let's go on to pricing issues. I had this quite a bit in the beginning where you get people trying to barter with you. I do get it very rarely now, but I sort of stick my ground a bit and say no. But have you had any issues with like people bartering with you or not wanting to pay, or even just your own issues where you're like, I don't know how much to charge, like how do I price things up?
Yeah, I have had a few issues. I have quite a good system for pricing my cakes. I basically have a spreadsheet that I made that has all of my recipes in it, and then all of the additional extras, cake boxes, boards, dowels, everything. And then I can just add on those things as and when needed. And then I've got a section at the bottom, which is for adding on a bit for profit. And I can just adapt the percent depending on if I'm selling it to a customer or if I'm taking it to a market, or like that. It sort of varies, like depending on where you're selling. So I just change all those things based on the order, and then it just churns out the price. And then I can sort of tweak it if there's like extra things, like if I'm putting flowers on that's not included in the spreadsheet, things like that. So that's how I do it. I definitely do. I worry about my prices. I think it's just a confidence thing, because I'll work it all out properly in my spreadsheet, and then it will tell me, oh, this is how much you should charge, and I think, oh, I feel bad asking for that much money.
Even I do sometimes.
But that's how much it costs, and like you can't help that, and you have to make some profit, and you have to pay yourself. Otherwise, there's no point. Like the business wouldn't be a business if you didn't charge those things. So I try and keep my prices like as low as I can.
Affordable,
affordable, definitely. I'm not going to be overcharging people, but I do have to charge what it's worth. Yeah. And I think that some people just don't know how much a cake costs. Yeah. And like you can't expect them to, really, because if you've not run a cake business before, you don't really know what goes into it. But some people, I think, are expecting it to cost a similar amounts if they bought a cake in a shop or from a big bakery or something like that. But so you do get people that are surprised by the price and then come back to you and say like, oh, can I ask like for a breakdown, like why is it costing that much, or we'll come back and say, could you do it for this much instead? Which again, like, it's to be expected. Like, it's part of running a business. I think that you're going to get people asking questions like that, but there is just a risk of, I mean, just because somebody's asked the question doesn't mean that you have to reduce the price. Like, if that's how much it costs, then I think you're within your rights to say, I'm sorry, this is how much it costs. And if that's not okay, then don't place the order. Like, it is what it is.
I think it's like anything, there's quite a few times where people ask a question just in life in general, and they might not get the answer they want, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be put off by it. Like, that's some people just ask a question and they don't realise how rude it sounds. Some people send me messages and I'm like, do you realise that you've just said that the way you've said it?
Especially over email and text. Like,
can get misconstrued.
Can come across, more rude than
I'm like, I hope that you didn't mean that in a rude way. I'm going to take it that you didn't.
You have to assume the best and then just, not be offended by it.
Exactly. But I feel like price is definitely difficult. Like, even sometimes I send things through and I feel like over message it's completely different. But like recently, because I've been taking stuff into the gym, I've been getting a lot of people where they're like, right, I've got a birthday coming up. Tell me how much you charge for your birthday cakes. And I say, oh, it's from 50. Obviously it depends massively on the design, but they start from that. And then they're like, okay. And I'm like, okay, good. Like, I'm like, I think that's good, because there's times where obviously I never tell people in person. Like, it's always over message or email. Like, I never really tell them, like, and if it is in person, I say, here's my card for my website, which has all my info on, or my Instagram, and they're like, okay. But when people are like, how much are they? I'm like, I don't want to tell you to your face just in case your face says that's expensive.
Look of horror.
When they're like, and also, like, I know in the gym that they don't buy birthday cakes. A lot of them are like, I've never bought an occasion cake. So I'm like, you aren't my usual clientele because you don't necessarily know how much it costs or how much it's worth. But like, they're happy to pay it. And also it depends on the person, because like a lot of those people are self-employed because they're PTs, all of that kind of thing. So they know how expensive it is to run their own business. So they kind of appreciate that. But again, it just really depends on the person. But pricing is honestly,
it's difficult. I think I've found in general that people are more willing to pay what it costs than not. Like, I haven't had many people that have been really like annoyed about the price or anything. Like, most people just come back and say, yeah, that's completely fine. Even if I've been worried about sending them that price, they'll just be fine with it, and that sort of makes me feel better that that's what they were expecting and they're happy to pay. But I think one thing that does help is that I have my prices on my website. I have like starting prices, like this size of cake starts at this price, then obviously any extras is going to cost more. So I think before people place the order, they've got an idea in their head of what it's going to cost if they've read it properly.
Some people, they do. I've had the odd person where they're like, it says £50 on your website. I'm like, yeah, that's with nothing on it, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
If you add flowers and macaroons and a cake topper, it's not going to be that price.
And that's the thing, like, as well, all those decorations I think cost more than people realise. Like, fresh
sometimes
flowers,
more than
so expensive. It's just like, a thing about confidence, and you work it out, you think, oh, that sounds like a lot, I'm gonna knock off a tenner or something, and then they're perfectly happy with the price, and you think, oh, I should have charged what it's actually worth. Because like, if you do that all the time, then you won't make any money.
Exactly.
So
it's definitely difficult. So we are going to go on to inspirations. I know you wanted to mention a few things, so if you want to start on what inspired you to start the business, and just anyone in particular, whether it's on Instagram.
I follow so many bakers on Instagram.
It's a problem for me as well.
Admire so much. Like,
too many.
There's so many people that I follow, and I think, how do you make these incredible things? And you just you think one day, hopefully, I'll be as good as you. I've followed you for a long time. I've told you that already.
Unusual, honestly.
No, it's
whenever
good.
I meet anyone, I'm like, why do you watch my videos?
No, your videos were so helpful, because I think by the time I found you, I already knew that I was going to start my business. And I had like other people that I'd followed who probably like inspired me to start. And then once I'd had that sort of push, I then was looking into how to start a business, and that's when I found you. So then watching all of your videos basically helped me step by step set it all up. And it's just nice, because one thing that I found when starting, it's so easy to find information about how to start a cake business in America or like in some other country, but it's hard to find people in the UK making these videos. And it's just, you need someone in the same country as you to give you advice, because obviously the rules are so different everywhere.
I feel like they're so general as well. When I looked on like the food hygiene website and all of that, it was all very like, we recommend that you apply 28 days before you start trading. And I'm like, so do I have to? Like, and that's what so many people message me, like, do I need to apply 28 days? And I was like, I'd recommend it because it says it on the website. But I started 2 weeks after. Because I just put in my application that this is the date I intend to start, and they didn't have a problem with that. But like, it's so difficult, because it's like you're not giving definitive instructions.
Yeah, that's the problem. I was worried about it, so I actually did it like, I think 2 months in advance, and then I was just sat there for like a month being able to trade, but not because I wasn't ready. But that's the thing, like, you can look all this stuff up, do your research, and then you find that you still don't know what you're doing. And then, so what I would do is I would do all my research, and then I would like watch your videos to just be like a backup sort of thing of like, oh, she's flagged this thing that I've not done, or like, oh, have I understood this thing properly? And then you've like taken it the same way that I have, and I'm like, okay, like someone else has read that the same as me, I know I'm doing it right. So that was super helpful. So many other people that I follow. Oh god, I can't think of anyone now.
Did you find it easy or hard to find vegan inspiration? Because obviously that is a different market.
Yeah, I found it really easy to find vegan bakeries, but I mean, there's so many different, like with all bakers, everyone's got a different style. And within like the vegan baker sort of area, there's so many different styles and everything within that. So I do follow a lot of vegan bakeries, but a lot of them make cakes that just aren't my, like, that I like to look at, but aren't the kind of thing that I would make. So I haven't, like, I mean, they're definitely out there, but I've not seen loads of other vegan bakeries doing exactly the same type of cakes as me.
Yeah. That's good though.
But yeah, it is good, yeah.
Because it means that you're something different.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I was quite conscious of when I started, was that I wanted to have a particular style.
Yeah.
And not just do anything and everything.
Yeah.
I was worried that I was like limiting myself quite a lot, because I already had the vegan specialty, and then to have too much of a narrow sort of style, you're really limiting your potential customer base. But actually, I've not really found it to be a problem. Like, some people have got in touch and said, oh, hey, can you make me this fondant cake that's in the shape of this animal or something? And I'll get back to them and I just say, like, that's not my thing. I don't make those myself, but I could do this for you instead.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the time people come back to me and say, oh yeah, that's fine then.
It's actually surprising, yeah. Some people I do wonder though, I'm like, did you look at my page?
Yeah.
When they send me like a fondant lion or something, and
yeah,
I'm like,
funny.
I don't work with fondant.
Yeah.
Like, never have. You can see it in my thing.
Yeah.
I had one literally like 2 days ago where it was a 3-tier white fondant cake. They were all really shallow cakes, and like mine are very tall.
Yeah.
And also it was all covered in fondant. And I just went back and said, I can't do it in fondant, and also wouldn't do it that short because I personally don't like the way it looks.
Yeah.
And like that's one thing that I'm like, I want to like the cake that I'm making. So I was like recommending, I was like, oh, I could do it in buttercream and I could do it a bit taller if that works, and then we'll see if they actually get back to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing that is like so awkward when people send you certain designs. I'm thinking, no, unfortunately not.
I find that quite hard when someone sends an inquiry and you have to get back to them saying, I can't make that cake for you, not because I'm not free, but just because I don't want to.
Yeah.
But again, I think you have to do that, otherwise you just end up like doing all sorts and not enjoying your work.
I did that in the beginning. I did a few, like, they were still buttercream cakes, but they were just things where I was like, this isn't an exciting design.
Yeah.
Like, it's really boring. And half of it was where people didn't want to pay the prices, so they made it as like basic as possible to make it cheaper.
Yeah.
So they took like the chocolates off, and it was just like a drip cake with a border around the top, and it just didn't look nice.
Wasn't what you wanted to do.
No.
Yeah.
But I feel like, again, you kind of grow and you realise your style, and people eventually want to pay the prices that you're charging, so then you can just do the cakes that you want to do and you're not having to sacrifice the look of it, because it does make a huge difference. One thing that I've always said is I will never do a cake without either a white covered board or a covered board.
Okay.
Because, and like with toppings of some sort, because I see so many where it's like the silver board and it's literally just a plain cake. There's no drip, nothing, and it's where they're trying to make it cheaper, and I'm like, no, I won't do it.
That's the thing, like, it's little things like that like add on to the price, and people might have to pay slightly more, but the cake looks so much better.
Yeah, but it's like, even with just chocolates on a drip cake, it's like, that'll add like £5.
Yeah.
And it makes it look finished.
Yeah.
Otherwise it just looks unfinished and it won't get posted, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You'll get a photo taken of it so that if I need to show it to someone else I can, but it's not actually going to get used.
Yeah, that's the thing, like, you can make cakes that you don't like so much and sell them, and then you don't have to post them.
Exactly. There's some that don't make the cut, unfortunately. So, what are some of the biggest things that you've learnt? So, like, maybe, I'm not sure if we touched on this, but maybe things that have gone wrong, or just things where you're like, oh, I learnt that 6 months later. I wish I'd known it when I first started.
I think one thing that I've probably learnt is that this probably isn't just about a baking business, it's about any business really, is that you have to put yourself out there, and you have to, I think naturally I'm a bit more of a reserved person, so it doesn't come very naturally to me to sort of shout about my business and like apply for all these markets and go out and like message you about coming on here, like things like that. It's not the kind of thing that in my sort of day-to-day life I would find very easy to do, but you have to almost just put on a new personality of like the business owner, Rachel, and then just behave in that way. And you'll just find that the more you start doing that, the better you get at doing it. And actually, like, that's where all the good stuff comes from.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to ask, and like, you'll get knocked back and you'll get ghosted and all sorts. But if you don't try, then you don't get anything from
two
it.
things. One, being ghosted as an adult. If you are mature enough, you'll just take it on the chin and you'll be like, it's fine, I'll get over it. Literally any example of ghosting, not even just business. Like, whatever it is, I'm like, it's going to happen, fair enough.
Yeah.
But also, with the putting yourself out there, one thing that I've massively learned, which I was saying this to Lauren, but I've only learned it in the past maybe like 6 months, is your comfort zone is based on where you allow yourself to be. So if you think, oh well, that's out of my comfort zone, that's because you've never done it before.
That's so true.
Like, if you do it once or twice, then you've expanded your comfort zone, and that thing that you were scared of doing is no longer scary. Because like, I'm terrible with, like, I get really anxious, and I get it when I'm out of my comfort zone. Stupid things like walking into a restaurant and meeting people. If I'm the last person, get really anxious about it. I'm like, where are you sat? Tell me, like, what table, because I get
before I come in, text me telling me where you are.
I'm like, meet me outside, because I don't want to walk in. Stupid things like that. And it's like, the more you do things, and like, now I force myself to do it. I'm like, right, I need to go into that bar and meet my group of friends, and not even ask them where they are. Or like when you sent me that message, I was like, I've never met you. Like, obviously Lauren, I knew her before I did the podcast, so I was like, well, this isn't scary, because I know her. And when you messaged me, I was like, I'm a bit nervous. And then I was like, no, we're gonna say yes, because it will be good. Like, it's out of your comfort zone. Like, that is the main thing. Like, markets, like, all of these things that you do for your business, reaching out to people like this, will obviously, like, I hope it will be good for you as well, like, promotional wise. So it's sort of thing where you're like, right, I'm glad I put myself out there. I'm glad I sent that message.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that I've found, this might not work for everyone, but I have started doing, like, it's like ripping off a plaster. Like, if you think, oh, I need to do this thing, if you think about it for too long, you won't do it. So like, when I was approaching cafes to sell things, I went round with some sample boxes, and I was so nervous to go into these cafes and say, like, hey, do you want to try some of my cakes? But I would literally pull up in the car, immediately get up and get out and walk in before I'd even thought about what I was going to say. Because I knew that I would just chicken out. So it's almost just a thing of, like, just like you're saying about comfort zone, like, just expanding your comfort zone and just trying things, and it might pay off, it might not.
I think people forget that, like, it's based on what you do. Like, people say, oh, I'd never do that, and it's like, well, you're making that decision. Like, you're saying that you'll never do it because it's not in your comfort zone. But how do you think people, like, jump out of planes and all those kinds of things like that? They didn't just do that. Like, they pushed themselves to do it once, and then now they do it all the time.
Exactly.
Like, it works with everything in life, but it's definitely something that you have to push yourself to do. Like, one thing that I'm trying to do this year, which I wrote a list of people that I wanted to do it for, a bit like you say with the cafes and stuff, is people that I wanted to give samples to. So, like, YouTubers, anyone like that, where I was like, right, I want to send them stuff, and now I need to actually reach out to all of them, because I've actually got a bit more time now for admin. But like that, you could get ghosted, they could say no, whatever it is, you could send them something and they don't actually post it, but you just got to kind of hope that they do. It's just one of those things. So what are your goals? Because obviously you're fairly new, so, like, what's your, say, year goal, and then what's your, like, long term, like, maybe in the near future sort of thing?
So I think my year goal is probably, I'm still planning on having a part-time job for a long while, but I would like it to get to the point where my part-time job and my baking are, like, equal, kind of. At the moment, I, like, spend more time working at my job than I do on my baking. I'd like it to equal out, if not the baking sort of take over. I'd really like to get to the point where I'm struggling to have that part-time job still, because the baking is getting to that point. I'm not sure when that will happen, but that's sort of
it's nice not to
goal.
have any like date on it.
Yeah.
And also, I think the part-time job is very smart because, like the same with me, it's one thing that you can guarantee every week.
Yeah.
Like you know that you've got that set amount of money to allocate each week. Whereas obviously week in, week out with cakes, it's like 1 week might be busier, 1 week might be more postals, which is different like amounts of money. So it's like you don't know how much you're going to get each week. So at least you can go, right, I can rely on this amount monthly, which pays my bills, and then anything from cakes is a plus. Yeah,
no, definitely. I think probably my longer term goals, I've always wanted to do wedding cakes.
Yeah.
I have a few wedding cakes booked in already. I would love it to get to the point where wedding cakes is the majority of what I'm doing.
It's always nice.
Because that's just what I'd love to do. Maybe when I start doing more of them, I'll find that it's too stressful. I don't know. But for now, that is definitely something that I've got my sights set on as being the main part of my business.
Yeah. I think it's always nice to be able to have weddings as the biggest money earner because they are obviously more expensive. So it allows you to work less days and get more money, which is a no-brainer as a business owner because... Like, my sister does wedding hair and makeup, so I help her sometimes, assisting her, and she works most weekends in the year, but during the week, she doesn't work.
Yeah, that's the thing, it does take up weekends, but then you get that time back.
Exactly.
In the week, so.
And, like, her weekends is, like, Friday and Saturday. Like, it's never really on a Sunday. And, yeah, it just means that she's got nice time in the week, which is free, and, like, she... earns well. It's like she could do less weekends and still earn the same as an average job. Yeah. But it's just because weddings are more expensive. There's a lot more stress in it, and also the quality of like ingredients, you're decorating, all of that, the amount of time that you put into stuff. Yeah. Because again, what people don't realise with wedding cakes, and some people might not, but like for me, I don't do any other orders when I have a wedding cake. Yeah. Because if something goes wrong with that cake, I do not want to be going, right, I've got to finish this birthday cake.
You need to be free.
And I need to do this wedding cake. Like, I don't accept any other orders, which then means that I'm down on money. So that's why I say to people, like, yes, it's more expensive, but your order is the only thing that I'm doing. Yeah. Whereas with a birthday cake, I can do 5 in one day. Like,
that's so true. And I think the other thing with wedding cakes is I've heard a lot of people say that, oh, if you're ordering a wedding cake, don't tell the baker that it's for a wedding because otherwise they'll charge more. And it bothers me because I'm not just going to shove on a load of money on the end of the quote just because you've said the word wedding. That's not how it works. It's wedding cakes take longer. Yeah. They take longer to make, they take longer to stack and transport to the venue, set up at the venue. The time spent communicating with the couple to design the cake. Yeah. It's all of that is costing the money. It's not the fact that you've told me that it's for a wedding. Yeah. Whether you said it's for a wedding or not, each of those things would still happen, and I would still have to add that money onto the quote. So it's a funny thing that people say, but it's
the only difference for me with wedding cakes, the hourly rate stays the same, but the only difference is I charge for admin. Like before I've actually so I add on all the time that I've spent discussing it because it takes so much longer. Like they're sending me venue details, I'm telling them how much it's going to cost for me to get there. Like there's just so much more admin for a wedding cake. And also like if they get me to converse with the florist, like I'm spending my time doing that. So unfortunately that's something I wouldn't normally do. So that gets charged. Like if I spend an hour on the phone trying to find a florist. Because I've had people where they've said, can you find a florist?
That's tricky.
And I'm like, well, yes, I can, but I'm not going to spend 2 hours on Google calling people for absolutely nothing, unfortunately. So again, there's like services which people don't realise which aren't normally included. And also like the delivery. I would never let someone take a wedding cake from my house.
I've got that in my terms and conditions that I deliver all wedding cakes.
Yeah, so it's like...
It's too risky.
If you're going to say it's not a wedding cake and it's say like a 2-tier and then you're going to turn up and just collect it, like I would never, and also I'd stack it at the venue, like final decorations, like so many things which people don't, and it's like if you don't want to pay wedding cake prices, then like don't book your wedding with me. Like that's simply the way that it goes, because I don't know what people think when they do that.
I know.
But also it's like if you think I'm that silly, like
I'm
a
not
white
gonna
cake.
notice. Yeah.
It's like I ask people, like I've
Yeah.
had one person do that before, and I said, "Is this a wedding cake?" Because I said, "You're telling me to take it to a venue. It's 2 tiers. It's got a Mr. and Mrs. Topper. Like it's really not that hard for me to
Wow.
guess." And I said, "Just so you know, like I will stack it at the venue. All these kinds of things." So I was like, "If it's a wedding cake, you need to let me know because it doesn't massively change the price, but like." You can't just take it from my house. I will not let you.
That's the thing. Like, when we ask if it's a wedding cake, there's a reason that we're asking. It's not just not just so we can charge.
Yeah,
more.
not so that I can go right.
practically,
Here you go.
like,
Here's £100 on.
Yeah,
I mean, some people I know do add on. Like they charge maybe like £25 an hour for a wedding cake, but I would say that is only acceptable if you specialise in them.
Yeah, and when
if
you
don't do
more
anything
skilled,
else,
then you should charge more for your time. If you've taken the time and years to learn those skills and you're really good at what you do, then you should charge what you're worth. But, yeah.
But like I can't charge 2 different prices when I'm doing occasions and weddings. Whereas if I was like only a wedding cake maker, then I would charge more per hour.
Yeah.
But then I'm only doing that. Whereas it's like, oh, I'm putting the same effort into my occasion cakes as my wedding cakes, but I'm charging 2 different prices.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm like, I charge the same hourly rate, but obviously there's a lot of services that get added on, unfortunately. Yes, it is. That is one thing that everyone always talks about, and they're always like, oh, it's so difficult to price wedding cakes.
Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah, for sure. So, we've gone on to things you wish you knew. Any regrets? Any things where you're like, I wish I'd started sooner, I wish I'd not bothered even trying this?
Definitely don't wish I'd not bothered, because
anything in particular where you're like, some people say, I wish I'd never tried postals, or I wish I'd never done cakes, just stuck to postals. I know there's quite a few people that only do postals now, and they used to do cakes and
I don't think there's anything massive that jumps out. I think I potentially do regret not starting sooner. But then I also feel like if I had started sooner, my business would look really different now because, I don't know, I'd have been that much younger. Not saying that you can't start when you're younger, you can, but like I'd have been that much younger. I wouldn't have as much experience as I do now just from my hobby baking and everything. And I feel like I'd have reached a different point. But I don't know. I think I'm happy with how things have gone. Maybe if you ask me again in 6 months, I might have regrets because I'm sure there's still things to come that are going to go wrong. Nothing major has happened so far. Yeah,
that's nice. I think when I started, it was things like I wish I had started selling sooner because I did like a promotional period where I was like, I'll make for friends, post it all, and then it was very confusing as to whether I'd actually started yet. And just like the things that I made, because I was very like, oh, I want to take on orders, like I was a very people pleaser. I was like, I want to say yes to everyone. And it's like, you can say no if you don't want to do a cake, you can say no. So that's what I would say I regret. But like you said in the beginning, like you made sure that everything was in place before you even started.
That's the thing. I think I could have started sooner, but I think if I did, I would have been the kind of person that says yes to everything, take on as much as I can, and just do it. Whereas because I took the time to like really learn a lot about running a cake business before I started, I'd learned from other people's mistakes, and like I'd seen so many people saying, don't make everything, don't say yes to everything, find what you want to do that, then people will see that that's what you do, and they'll order from you because that's what you do. They won't like get the wrong idea or anything. So I do feel like I learned a lot from other people's mistakes, and have really like taken those lessons on board to try and make sure that I don't do the same thing. But I know there's definitely things that I'm doing at the moment that in the future I'll look back and think, why on earth did I do that? But it is all still quite new. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
That is good. So we've actually covered everything now, which is they're always quite long, but I'm hoping that everyone's enjoying it. So the last thing, and you can have a little think if you need to, is just advice for listeners. So it's just something that you want to leave people with, something like that you think is important. Can literally be anything. Yeah.
I think my advice would be, it sounds basic, but practice so much baking for yourself at home, even if it feels like a waste of time.
Yeah,
it's not. Like, you might end up with so much cake that you can't eat it all yourself and you have to give it away to people for free. That's fine. Give it to your neighbours or whatever, but practice, because you don't want to get to the situation where you're taking orders and you're not as experienced as you thought you might have been, and end up
and not confident in your skills.
Things go wrong. Like, things go wrong no matter how much you practice. Like, cakes are delicate. Sometimes they fall over. I had that the other
week. Had a meltdown on my YouTube.
Oh god. It just happens. And I think the more you practice, the more things you learn, and you find your own way of doing things,
and your routine.
You get a realistic idea of how long each different type of cake takes you to make, so you can price it better. And I do think there was a time when I was feeling like, oh, I'm spending a lot of money on ingredients and I'm not selling these cakes to anyone.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I do definitely think it was the right thing to do, because now I'm selling my cakes. I feel like, okay, I'm confident that if I go right now and make a cake, it's going to turn out well, because I've made a lot of mistakes in the past that I've learned from with my baking. So yeah, that's what I'd say really, is just really put the time and energy into making sure that you are happy with your product before you just put yourself out there, because it's not nice when things go wrong. It's not good.
And also, I think that with literally anything in life, learning new things, like, it's the most valuable thing that you can do. Like, whether it's a skill, whether it's studying a new course or whatever it is at uni, you can never have too much knowledge.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
So just practice, get as much knowledge as you possibly can, and then at least when you start, it will make you a lot less anxious and a lot less worried.
Yeah, a lot more relaxed when you're baking.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing sort of similar to that is follow people on social media, follow everyone who makes cakes that you like. Just follow all these people, watch what they do, watch how they do it, and if they do something and you see that and you think, I really like that cake, then go away, go on YouTube, learn how to do it. And all of a sudden you're just sort of taking in all this knowledge from other people, learning from other people's mistakes, just getting inspiration from everywhere. And I've sort of found that because I love watching other people make cakes on the internet, I just love it so much. I spend a lot of time doing it, and I almost haven't had to put any effort at all into learning how to decorate a cake, because I've just watched other people do it for so long. It's surprising how much you
take in as well.
Exactly, you can take in so much just from watching other people. So yeah, I'd say practice and watch as many people on YouTube and Instagram as you can, and you'll just learn so much from that. And yeah, hopefully that'll help.
Lovely. So we hope that you all enjoyed this. If you haven't already, go and follow Rachel on Instagram. It's the Cotswold Vegan Bakery.
Cotswold Vegan Bakery.
That is correct. It's got some underscores and stuff in it, hasn't it?
Cotswold_vegan_bakery.
Yeah, I will put it in the description on YouTube and also on Spotify in case anyone is confused and can't find it. But you should be able to. Fingers crossed. So thank you from me and Lauren. That's because I did the last one with Lauren. Me and Rachel. God, my head is like mush. Oh, thank you for me and Rachel is what I meant. God. Oh, so, like I say, we hope that you enjoyed, and we will see you hopefully soon, or I will see you soon. And hopefully I will have another guest soon, because it has been 2 months. I'm sorry, guys.